All right. It says we're live. Happy Friday, everybody. My name is Shay. Welcome to the stream. Today, I think I'm working on my July map for Patreon. If that changes to some world building, I'm open to that. Just kind of depends on what everybody wants to work on today. Yeah, thinking about getting started with this for now anyway. Thanks for joining me. It is always good to have company. What size pen do I want? Let's play with 8. You are first, Dennis. How are you? It's going all right this morning. It's been a very chill and lazy kind of day so far. Looking forward to getting to hang out with my people. Begin the brigade of very tiny trees. Good morning, my Laura. How are you? It is a twist on Bob Ross. Yeah, you're not wrong. Oh, I should take my phone and put it on silent. Just 1 second here. There we go. Happy tiny trees, indeed. Indeed, indeed. Laura, how are you doing this morning? Good morning, Patrick and my Stephanie. Hello, friends. Put her on the side of her camper van. That sounds fabulous. I don't know that I would be bold enough to put any of my art on the side of a camper van. Don't think I've got quite enough skill for that. And then there was a Michael. Hello, love. We are like all here today. This is super exciting. I guess Dexter could come and Brian could come and Naglis could come and then and Gary and Owen. Maybe there's a bigger crowd than I thought. This is really exciting to have everyone all here. Thanks, friends. Oh, and Marla. Maybe Marla will join us. It is a Friday after all. Progress this weekend on the mermaids, Laura? That sounds really good. Steph, now that it's not so windy today, I'm going to clear coat your minis. You're welcome. Good place for boots to go to tie. I'm glad that they look okay. I've been nervous about them. I'm trying some different shapes with mountain peaks just to try and expand my style a little bit, and I don't know that I necessarily like it. But hopefully they look all right. Yes, draw along, do the thing. I'm excited to see what you do with them, Laura. I think that's going to be great. Yeah, my intention with the stream was always that it could be like a hangout or just a general art jam where people come whatever projects they're working on. We used to do art jams in Myrna's living room back in the day, many, many years ago. And the only rule of art jam was that you had to have a project to work on. You couldn't come and just hang out. You had to have something to do. And it was really great because it wasn't just visual artists. We had a couple people learning how to DJ. We had one guy trying to learn how to play the guitar. And so that made it somewhat a chaotic space at times, but it was just so full of like creative potential and people like just learning how to do things. And that was just a really great space to be in. I super enjoyed it. I'm glad they're very great because this is based on the Cartographers Guild Challenge for July, which is a map of the Feywild. So I'm going for that vibe. So thank you. That's encouraging. Yeah, Artist Colony, for sure. For sure. I would live in one if I could. What cool landmarks am I tucking away for the Fae? Love the tour guide. He was a fun guy. Yeah, no kidding. I haven't drawn any specific landmarks in here. I did that once for my map of the Naven. I don't know if I ever showed you guys that map. Let me see if I have that book nearby. That is not that book. Where is that book? Oh, here it is. You guys would not believe how messy my office was unless I showed you. It's a disaster right now. So this map, the one in color, see if I can give you a better view of it here, has a whole bunch of landmarks scattered throughout it. Various types of terrain and places and stuff like that. Let me see if I can find the black and white version. That's weird. Where is it? Could have sworn it was in here too. Nope. Oh, there it is. So what I had done originally was, this is my very first map that I ever did. It's on graph paper, cheap graph paper. And it's the very first one I ever did. So there's all kinds of like little castles and bridges and various things. And then I wrote a key for all of it. So yeah, this was a playable area that I had built that we've never played in. So it was fun though. It got me started. This is where everything began for me. These trees are all individually scribbled pine style trees. They took me such a very, very long time. I've definitely changed my tree style since then. But yeah, maybe I should be doing more maps like this that have all the stuff in them again. That was fun. I enjoyed that. Can you get a close-up? I can try. Trying to figure out which way my camera is going. I think that's about as good as it's going to get. Yeah, it's pretty fun. I think anyway. So yeah, that's where it started for me. Yeah, my Unaven had a whole bunch of stuff in it that was playable and fun and the thing. I think it was really good for a first map, but I think that actually caused me some problems in that then like expectations. I was going to be able to produce maps like that all the time and everything. A lot of people were like, you should do a Patreon like right out the gate, and then the Patreon has not taken off the way that it was expecting to and stuff like that. So such is life though. What's the matter, Saxon? Oh, Dad's doing something. How old is it? A year and a half. Maybe 2 years now. I think I started in July. It's definitely an older sketchbook. So yeah, I would say 2 years now, probably. I'd have to check my Facebook memories to know for sure. I really do jump in with 2 feet. You are not wrong about that, Laura. No, I haven't been doing this for longer. Um, I have been at this a very short period of time. I feel very much like imposter, when I compare to people who have much stronger styles than me or have been at it for longer. Um, I definitely feel like I do not know what I'm doing most of the time, and I'm just making it up as I go. So if anybody else is having those feelings, I feel you, boo. I know what that is about in a big way. Yeah, imposter syndrome is the worst, really. No, no one knows what they're doing. I believe that to be a truism in life. I think we're all just faking it as best we can. Yep, fake it till you make it indeed. Hopes, prayers, and duct tape. That's fair. That's totally fair. You're work in progress while you're supposed to be working, Dennis? You're finding the locations and whatnot? Okay. I follow you. My creativity comes in bursts of inspiration from any number of directions, so I always feel like a noob, like a pencil. I get that, Patrick, completely. I get that, absolutely. I've been finding it so hard to be inspired lately, like, just keep calling it coronavirus brain. It is a challenge. I am not a fan. Because if the guys don't find you handsome, they can at least find you handy. I mean, handy is good. There ain't nothing wrong with handy. You are not wrong, Michael. Nope, I agree with you completely. Although I would argue that Europe is probably going through its own very fascinating collective stress too, with the rise of far right militantism and Brexit and various other issues over there. The economics alone of what's been going on with the EU is pretty intense. I think it's just natural for us to privilege what's going on in North America because that's where we are. Dysfunctional living through post-colonialism. That sounds like the byline. Absolutely. And neoliberal capitalism. Huzzah. Hyperbole is intention. We're on the same page. Yeah. This is your rock and you live under it. That is legitimate. That is legitimate. Sometimes that's the option. I remember when I was hoping to go to grad school, I met with one of the profs that had been a guidance to me during my undergraduate degree. And he wrote me one of my letters to get me in. And before he wrote the letter, he said, "Are you really sure you want to do this?" He said, "You are never going to be able to unsee the world in the way that grad school will teach you to see the world. And that is a blessing and a curse." And I said, "Yeah, I want this. So let's do it." And he's not wrong. And to this day, I'm very grateful that he had that conversation with me because, like, I see the world very differently now that I have many years of training in postmodern theory and post-structural theory and post-colonial theory. Um, and sometimes it's incredibly disheartening to realize just how firmly entrenched these problems are and how systemic they are and just how sure you can make all the differences that you want to make as individuals, but the collectiveness of how we deal with governance and deal with everything else really makes any kind of large scale change very, very hard. Um, and yeah, that gets dejecting sometimes. So rocks are useful. Rocks are very useful. History is repeating itself. I think it's doomed to on some level because we are all humans dealing with what we've got in our fallible human way. And that's going to make certain things repeatable for sure. I think that's part of the hope and dream of role-playing games for me is it's the same as any kind of other speculative fiction. If we change certain variables, how does the entire apparatus change? Right? Do we get to be free of certain constraints? Are certain constraints exacerbated? Um, even just the simplification of living in a fantasy world as that character, because inevitably your world building is never going to be as 100% nuanced and complete as what the real world is to live in. It just alleviates a lot of stress, I think, which is why, like, as an escapist pastime, it's one of my favorites. Dennis is a cat in a box. It's a good place to be. Yes, wealth is an issue, for sure. For sure. That's a soapbox I can get onto, so let's avoid that for now. That will make us all very depressed. Dennis, you missed us talking about the geostationary moon yesterday. Oh man, you are not wrong about that either, Michael. And then you get down to play styles, and you get people who want to like exert a lot of control over the environment and over the story, and other people want the environment and the story to happen to them in a way that's explorative. And you get a lot of disconnection about, who's leading those kinds of games. And I think as a DM that gets confusing sometimes as to like, who are you running for? I can read you guys what we started. Yes, the sax is here. You heard him. I can read you what we started talking about with the geostationary moon yesterday, and if you guys have more ideas, we can add them. That is completely a doable thing. Where is the book? Book. Got it. The world should be one the GM wants to run. I agree with you completely, because otherwise your DM is bored or stressed, and those are two conditions you never want. All right, so we decided this, first of all, big thing to note, this geostationary moon is taking place in the Feywild. So there is a ton of magic that is ambient in the world. The Feywild is probably the least physics consistent space that I can think of out of the planes that I have gone to. We've decided there are 4 moons in the Feywild. Oh my goodness, there's more coffee. I'm so excited. Thank
Almond
you.
extract. I didn't know what you wanted to put in.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, my love. Oh, that's a good cup, babe.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So there's 4 moons in the Feywild, we've decided. And Arlaith, Pyarus, Ogun, and Eowyn. And we've decided that in the cosmology of the Feywild, they're a family. Arlaith is the mother, Eowyn is the father, Ogun is the son, and Pyarus is the daughter. Arlaith is kind of the moon that is associated with the mundane things like sailing, astronomy, stuff like that. Eowyn is the moon associated with magic. Pyarus is the moon associated with death and spirits and also shepherds. And Ogun is the smallest moon and is associated with the blooming of night plants and the leading people home who are lost at night. We've decided that the moon that has gotten geolocked is Eowyn, which is the magic moon. It has the second longest orbit, and I'd like it to be locked so that it's facing as full rather than showing its shadow side. And we've decided that this has a bunch of effects on the magic that's going on in the Feywild. So every spellcaster, regardless of class, is going to get 1 additional spell slot at the highest level for all magic users due to the additional ambient increase in magic in the environment. However, monsters gain advantage on saves versus magic as a complete, everybody does. Fewer portals open to the Feywild, and it makes it harder for people to enter or leave the Feywild. The portal that Darian Arcus came in through has closed, so that they cannot now leave the way they came in, which I think is going to be an interesting wrench in the works, because depending on where they leave the Feywild through, they're going to enter the prime material plane again somewhere else and have to get back. Out of all of the courts that I have, there are 6 courts: summer, winter, autumn, spring, moonlit, and shadow. The moonlit court is experiencing higher than normal fertility for this period. I don't know if that becomes relevant to the story at all. It's just going to be something that's going on in the background that I know about. And we're determining that all spell casting happens at disadvantage for wild magic surges, even if it's not a wild magic sorcerer. So just trying to cast a spell in this is more difficult. So every spell that you want to cast, even if it's a ranger spell, is going to be rolled at disadvantage and be penalty to wild magic surges. And Laura suggested yesterday that the opposite of the moonlit court, which is the shadow court, would be weakened like a vampire in the sun. So yes, we also decided kind of culturally that there's 1 quarter less random encounters, but that the random encounters are frequently more dangerous, like kind of invert the charts that I use for my random encounters, which I can show you an example of. So my random encounter charts are generated in a way that is consistent with 2E rules, where you roll from 2d10s. So you have 2 to 20. And the ones that are on the outside edges are very rare, and then they become more common until they become very common in the middle, where the frequency of the numbers is likely to generate you just less problematic encounters. So I generate one of these for all of my random encounters that happen. I have them in other books and all over the place for regions that people are traveling through. So what we're going to do is invert the order so that like running into deer, for example, is going to become like something that happens on a 20, whereas running into like a red dragon might be something that happens on a 12. I'm trying to figure out how to balance that part of it a little bit, just to see kind of how to play that out. I feel like running into a red dragon constantly might be problematic. I don't know. Yes, Sailor Moon for sure. I did that too. 2d6. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, we need to like reorg the random encounter table now. I still have like the giant random encounter table that I designed. I just need to actually put it into some semblance of order now. And then other than that, we decided that they're going to encounter more funeral processions because of something that Patrick decided, which was that maybe the moon becoming geo-locked actually was more like an Infinity Stone event, and it actually killed 1/4 of the population of the Feywild, just wiped them out. And so I've been thinking that through since Patrick suggested it yesterday, and I really like the idea because when I posted this to the Fantasy Maps and World Building group, there were quite a few people who pushed back on it and basically said that it's not feasible, it's too OP for like one sorcerer to have this thing be a thing. It would change the geophysics and like the tides and the migrations and the tectonics and everything so much that it's just completely outclassed for power. And one guy said at a fine point, the amount of power required to do this would blow up the town she's in a surprising amount of the countryside, which, you know, I don't agree with that because it's magic and it's the Feywild, but I do think there should be major consequences to the fact that one of the moons is geo-orbital now. There's a Marla. Hello, darling. How are you? Do you have your tea? I didn't invite commentary on the post, but I mean, people are always going to give you their opinions online. So that's fine. You can give me your opinion. Whether or not I do anything with it is entirely something else. But it was very powerful to have a lot of people be like, the repercussions of this would be huge. Like, don't make this a light event. So Patrick's suggestion of this being like an Infinity Stone level event, I thought was really interesting. Like, it's dramatic. it's completely like, oh my God, am I prepared to play out the consequences of this? Particularly because in my world, Fae are susceptible to grief, just like the elves are in Tolkien's world. So when you lose a quarter of the Fae population, how does that impact everyone around them? And I'm just trying to play through like the cultural consequences of something like that happening. So, peach and banana smoothie, that sounds delicious. Dave just brought me more coffee because he's a good egg. So yeah, this is where I'm at with the orbital moon goodness. Just realized my camera is still like cranked way down. That's better, I think. Well, yeah, I mean, it is like by an order of magnitude bananas, right? Like short of the Black Plague. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, like, we know tides and stuff are going to be a problem. So I'm thinking a lot of the damage and destruction is going to happen near the water, which they are currently not near any water. So, like, whether or not they even see the effects of this right away kind of remains to be seen. But yeah, so talk to me about this, you guys. You're smarter than I am. Is it a great idea? Is it a terrible idea? I'm nervous about it. We also had the big reveal of Arcus's parentage when we played earlier this week, and it didn't go the way I was expecting it to go. So now I've got to kind of figure out like how that's going to work. And I'm running a solo for Lisa tonight. Okay, so let's grab a thing here and take some notes while you guys are telling me stuff. Mermaid domination. Refugees from the coast. Yeah, that level of population change would be hugely problematic. And I was thinking, there's somebody in the group yesterday suggested it would also affect animal migration. So is this the same world as the island city we helped with a few weeks back? No, this is a different area. The island city is Gatto. This is the Feywild. Think Alice in Wonderland. Fewer people make workers more valuable, so people could walk away from farms and demand better elsewhere. Such a shakeup. No, for sure. So, but this is what I mean by like this is the Feywild. So it's a huge problem in terms of this is still a really like magic fairy situation. Even COVID, aquatic life is coming back around Italy. Yeah, for sure. It would be affected by the tides of its own moon, for sure, but it's not in the same campaign. No, Gatto is a different campaign. The Feywild is the main campaign right now. Fairy stuck in animal form, yeah. Like, I do think the consequences of this would be a lot more pronounced if it was in the prime material plane, where things like tides and tectonics and stuff weren't necessarily just held together by magic. How does it affect nocturnal animals? That's a super good question. Disembodied genitals running amok. Okay, so funny story about that. I played a Fate game a number of years ago now, probably 6 or 8 years ago now, where we used Microscope to develop the setting, and it was determined to be a sci-fi campaign. We were in space. We were the vanguard of an occupying force, but we had gone rogue, so we were trying to like restore the balance and stuff. And using the Microscope system, you basically have to whatever somebody suggests somehow incorporate in. And we had all stayed kind of pretty serious about the construction of the campaign until somebody was like, perambulating sex toys. And we were like, wait, what? How does this fit in? And eventually we decided, because we didn't know who was the like force that was driving us to become the invaders, we decided they were a race of perambulating sex toys. So we never really got to a point where that became relevant, but it was hysterical to talk about. It was like we were all definitely 12, which, you know, has its time and its place, I think. So, yeah. It was a bad session of Perpetual Motion. Do you remember playing that when we were at school? I remember playing that when we were at school. That was a good game. It was a very good game. I wish I still had a copy of it. Kurt Vonnegut levels of sci-fi. Yeah, that sounds very accurate. So that was that. So yeah, this is where I'm at with trying to figure out more consequences of this moon happening. I've decided that the Summer Queen's current consort is one of the people that is going to have been killed outright by this shift in moonness. And that's important because they are going to the summer court at some point or another. There's a lot of very important stuff there that they need to sort through. So that'll at least have a direct impact on what's going on in the court. And Risk. Yeah, Risk was a game we played a lot of. How many next in line die? They come down and say, "What the fuck? We had a treaty." Yeah, had a treaty with who? Do they think it's an assassination? I don't think there is slavery in my Feywild. Um, there are like people that have been collected, but I wouldn't necessarily call like that's the traveling carnival of all the normies that have ended up in the Feywild that I've been talking about. Um, that would affect many houses. Oh, for sure, it would affect many houses. Lunatic Fey. Yeah, even more lunatic than usual, I suppose. Um, maybe the population drop affects everybody except for the Moonlit Court. Yep, diplomatic groups outside of the Fae are closed off. It'd be funny if this has happened before. I mean, maybe. There are rules, Carl. Well, I mean, the Fae have rules. They just don't operate on human rules, right? Fae take offense at certain things that make are completely inexplicable to humans, but they make sense to the Fae. And this time Immortal did it. Yeah. And like I think that the fact that it's Immortal is going to be a big issue. Yeah. All mortals are Carl. I love that. That makes me laugh. How are we doing for trees, people? They're looking okay? I think they're looking all right. Coffee, 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 coffee. I'm out of cream now, though, so I gotta go get groceries today. Because I used up most of my cream making butter chicken last night. It was a delicious butter chicken, though. I think what killed me about it was the one guy's like, I've been DMing since the 70s. And I'm like, cool. Like, that is super cool. You've been doing this for a long time. And I like bow to the amount of experience and stuff that you must have. But like, it's not your game, bro. Like, my players, and he's like, he's like, I just find the people with campaigns that run the longest are the ones that are like inherently logical and internally consistent and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I don't disagree with you. Like, I didn't say any of this because I was like, I'm not engaging, just refuse. But like, my campaign has been going for over a year now. It's not like we're just playing one-offs or whatever. So, butter chicken is delicious. For reals. Stephanie's getting to have some for lunch. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. It's a good analogy. Ooh, that on chicken pizza would be delicious. Yes, we could do that. I mean, maybe blowing hot air, but I mean, if he's got more experience, then I respect experience. I just don't think that experience necessarily equals expertise in all situations. As somebody who has gone to school to learn something about something, like, there is a world-class difference between the research that I can do on my own at home versus the research I can do in an institution. And it just accesses things differently, teaches you things differently. So experience, I don't think, is the same thing as expertise. Yeah, I agree with you. It's not about the years in your CV. It's about the dedication in your hours. Yes, for sure. For sure, for sure. I think one of the side effects of having gone to school to try to like learn in an additional way is that I know how much I don't know now, or at least I have a better idea of how much I don't know. And there's a certain kind of, I think humility is the right word, that comes with realizing how much of the world is just so much bigger and more complicated than what you ever imagined. And I think education is one of the ways that we can create that shock and awe in a way that doesn't exist when you're just an armchair warrior with the internet in your pocket. So it doesn't always make me want to discount other people's experiences, but like their experience is just their experience. There's always more experience out there. There's always more knowledge to be had and things to be learned and avenues to be explored. You roam the meme streets of the internet, Patrick. That's fair. It's totally fair. Well, even Michael, taking it back to earlier in the conversation, like I've only been drawing maps for maybe a year or two. I have a different capability with that because I have other experience that feeds into my ability to draw well. Like I've been drawing since I was a kid. Been doing it for a very, very long time. I just haven't been doing it on maps. And so that changes things. I'm not someone who started drawing for the first time a year ago. But does that make me feel like, I've been reading fantasy stories and I've been playing D&D and D and I've been trying to write my own novel and like all of these other side activities that I think feed into being a good DM. I've been doing those for a long time, but that doesn't mean I have like experience DMing. My homebrew world is pretty broken. Like we know that. We just roll with it because we like it. Um, so yeah, it just carries on doing what it's doing. I agree. Synergy is a big deal. That's exciting, Patrick. Have you got like a big project that you want to work on, or just working on short stories, poetry? What are you thinking that direction is going to look like for you? Patrick is being awesome? Yes, Patrick is being awesome. In chat, it is hard to harness subtlety. You're not wrong. But I honestly find that sometimes just in communication in general, subtlety requires some dedication that not everyone is committed to. Yeah, I think that appeals to me too. I posted some of my short stories on a blog for a while. I enjoyed having them out in the wild, so to speak. I like sharing. I think that's part of why visual art appeals to me so much. That sounds really exciting, Patrick. I hope you'll send it to me or at least like let me read it at some point. Did you find that that helped for you, Patrick? Dave plays Flames of War. He started playing Team Yankee too. I admire you for thinking you can do a 10-year project. That is not how my brain works. I often look back at something and go, I've been doing this for this long, as opposed to I'm going to do this for this long. On a new approach, hey? Well, I hope it works for you. So dogs are pretty cool. Yeah, they are. I like mine. He's a giant goof. Kind of a very, very handsome idiot. We call him Zoolander sometimes because he's real pretty, but not all that smart. Which is funny for a German Shepherd. Like, either that or he plays the idiot really well, which sometimes I think is probably more the case. Yeah, I don't know anything about dog breeding, so I can't really comment to that, but too many Uncle Fathers. Yeah, that's legit. Oh boy. Okay. Well, if you know you've got the universe, then that's a matter of world building it out until you find something that catches your fancy and carrying on from there, right? A dog judge. I've always wondered how people get into that. I think I'm gonna have to stop soon, you guys. My hand is cramping. Think that'll be where we call it. Got a lot done today, though. That's positive. Starting to like it better with some trees filled in. Thank you for coming and hanging out in my studio with me. I really love having the company. It just makes things so much nicer to work. It was really fun that we had such a big group of us today. And thanks for all of your ideas for dealing with my geostatic moon. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. So yeah, I am gonna go. You guys enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week, if not sooner. Catch you later. Bye.